And we had a ton of fun doing this last night and had a lot of people tell us that they really enjoyed it as well. So now that I'm going to be breaking down Dynasty teams in what I thought was going to be personalized podcast every single night for the new members of flogfantasy.com, I figured, you know what? If everybody really enjoys it, let's make this kind of a weekly or nightly live stream, very similar to how we live stream every single day during the football season. Might as well go ahead and fire these back up. So, of course, make sure you drop a like on this live stream if you like this content. If you want to get your Dynasty team broken down in one of these streams or maybe a personalized podcast, whichever one you would prefer. If you want to get access to my exclusive Dynasty rankings, the exclusive Dynasty rankings for everybody on Dynasty Land Football, Fantasy Stock Exchange, Fantasy Endgame, all of our exclusive articles, exclusive videos, exclusive live streams, you can sign up to flockfantasy.com with promo code FLOCK. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK in particular and sign up for a Mother Flocker package, then your team will be featured in the Dynasty team breakdown live streams or personalized video by yours truly. And also with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get 30% off any subscription. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. I think that's a long enough stalling. We should have almost everything set up here. We'll have a little bit more work to do, but we are going to go through and we are going to look at this team from Jock. I don't know how to say this. I'm very sorry, my friend. But anyway, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. Going to be super happy to look into this for you. And this is going to be a 10-team standard 1-quarterback league. We made a big trade to get the number 1 this year, and we also hold the number 6 and 8 picks as well. So we have to remember as we go through and look at this team, this will be a Bijan Robinson team, and it will as well be a team where we have 6 and 8. So let's swing this over here. Let's look at the roster. And right now, this is actually the bench. So you know what? Let's not look at the bench. Let's instead pull up what we have for the starting lineup. Initially, you'll see we have Geno Smith at quarterback, which obviously does not get you excited. I mean, if you're looking at Geno Smith, this QB that, yes, bravo, I'm happy for you. You end up getting a contract extension that is phenomenal. But at the end of the day, while you can be a good real-life NFL quarterback, definitely way better than everybody assumed you were going to be, from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective, the man's going to be 33 this next year. He doesn't really provide you any rushing upside whatsoever. I personally am not all in on going through and looking at Geno Smith as anything more than a backup level quarterback, especially in this 1 QB league. But if we're going to be going down to the bench, we're sitting with Deshaun Watson over here in this direction. I apologize. So if we have Deshaun Watson, honestly, I'm completely fine with the combo of Deshaun Watson and Geno Smith at QB. I think Watson has the elite level ceiling that we're going to be looking for in a 1 quarterback format. Now, going over to the wide receiver room, this will be a position that I kind of want to build around. I mean, we're having to start 3 of these wide receivers, and we're getting an additional flex spot. But we are going to be looking at T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk in the starting lineup. We also have Terry McLaurin down here on the bench. I'm sorry. We are floundering trying to show this off. We have Terry McLaurin down here on the bench as well. If we're going a little further down the bench, I mean, we will have some additional names we can be excited about. I mean, you're looking at Chris Olave. You're looking at Drake London. So in my mind, Chris Olave is a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Drake London is a borderline wide receiver 1 / high-end wide receiver 2 in Dynasty. Going back to the starting lineup, T. Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they are going to be wide receiver 1s in Dynasty. So we are sitting potentially with 4 wide receiver 1s. 4. So if I'm looking at Terry McLaurin, if I'm looking at Brandon Ayuk, these are players that are not only expendable, but I feel like we need to be doing everything we can to be trading them away. We'll talk about exactly what we're looking for later on. But let's go over to the tight end position. And instead of looking at Greg Dulcich in the starting lineup, I actually kind of want to look at Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller will be our starting tight end this upcoming season. Really like the situation that Darren Waller is going to be stepping into in New York from Las Vegas. Going over to the New York Giants, it reminds me of where the Raiders were back in 2020, 2021. You had no wide receiver help at all for the quarterback there, but Darren Waller was able to step in as the top target in that offense. Darren Waller was able to go out there and average 8.5 targets a game, 9 targets a game. Now, Darren Waller's older. Darren Waller hasn't been able to stay healthy as of late, so I don't expect Waller to come out and be a top 3 tight end as he was back in 2020, as he was in 2019. But I still expect Darren Waller to be a reasonably productive tight end. I think that you can expect him to be close to like the tight end 7, tight end 8, someone that we can reasonably start every single week this upcoming year. But to be honest with you, this would be a league where I'm willing to go out there and pay up for the tight end position because I want to cover a few different things. The primary thing being how many starting lineup spots we have here. We are starting 1 quarterback, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a flex. We are starting 8 players, 8 on a week-to-week basis. If this is how shallow our lineup is, that means the tight end position is going to be making up 12.5% of our starting lineup spots. Don't get mad at me if I'm a little bit off there. It's napkin math off top of the dome, so please don't get mad at me if we're wrong with that. But if we're around 12.5% of our starting lineup requirements being made up from the tight end position, it's very different than like a Dynasty league where you're starting 11 guys, where really we can just focus in on wide receiver depth and win with our number 1 flex spot, number 2 flex spot, number 3 flex spots. You don't really get that opportunity. So I would not mind at all if we could go through and take Greg Dulcich and Terry McLaurin, take Dulcich and Brandon Ayuk, and go out of our way and trade that combo for a tight end we're very excited about for the long term. Go get Kyle Pitts, go get TJ Hawkinson, go get one of those tight ends that will make a fundamental difference for this team, where I feel like Terry McLaurin, if he's your wide receiver 6, you're never going to start him, even if he's good in general. Doesn't really make too much sense from a roster construction standpoint in this format. Now, going over to running back, we have a massive bump up with Tony Pollard, obviously, with Ezekiel Elliott getting cut from the Dallas Cowboys today. We have Nick Chubb as well. Nick Chubb, in my mind, is a running back that actually may be in the best situation of his NFL career this upcoming season if Kareem Hunt's not with the Cleveland Browns. And then going down to the bench, we're going to be looking at James Cook, Tyler Algier, Kareem Hunt. So we even have some running back depth here. And we need to remember, we are adding on Bijan Robinson to this running back core. We are also adding on the number 6th and number 8th rookie in this year's draft. So this is a team that is loaded with depth top to bottom to an extent where I'm willing to go through and make deals to chase the elite studs at the onesie positions. If you're in a dynasty league where you're starting 11 guys, you probably don't want to do this. You probably don't want to sacrifice your wide receiver depth. You probably don't want to sacrifice your running back depth to go upgrade at quarterback in a 1 quarterback format. But specifically given these settings where we are only starting 8 guys, where right now on our bench, we have Drake London, Chris Olave, James Cook, Tyler Algier, and we have 3 first-round picks, including Bijan Robinson being added to this team. In my mind, that means we want to trade a wide receiver with one of our tight ends to go get that elite level tight end. And the same thing, I would go through and try to target an elite level quarterback. Of course, it's a 1 quarterback format, so that QB is going to come significantly cheaper. And at the same time, I'll say with that quarterback, I'm not looking to go out there and get Trevor Lawrence. To be honest, while yes, Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback that is extremely talented and in a super flex league, he gives you so much job security for so long that I'm willing to pay that premium and take him. I believe we have him ranked as our 6th overall player in super flex startups on flockfantasy.com. But in a 1 quarterback league, I would rather shoot for the player that I think has a much lower floor. So we may get him a little bit cheaper, but may have a higher ceiling, because it's always easy to replace a quarterback in a 1 quarterback format. But where we can find those true difference-making players will be the guys that can really break fantasy football. Like if we were going through and looking at those rush first quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields would be the perfect example of someone that I'm probably not going after in a super flex league. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily know what the long-term viability of those players looks like compared to the Justin Herbert, compared to the Trevor Lawrence. But we know from a rushing perspective, they are going to put up so many raw fantasy points that it's hard to match the short-term ceiling that those options have. So those would be some other players that I'm looking to potentially go after. Like if we can go through and say package together Deshaun Watson as well as, I don't know, Tyler Algier, Deshaun Watson, James Cook, Deshaun Watson, one of those depth running backs that we have, and go get Lamar. I think that would also be a very interesting move because this team just has so much running back and so much wide receiver depth. But I think that's about it. If we are breaking down what we are going to be doing specifically in the rookie draft for this team, keep in mind, this is a team that has pick 1, pick 6, and pick 8. 101, we're going Bijan Robinson. Given the ceiling he has for this format in particular, I think it's an easy pick, and I don't think we need to talk about that at all. 106, 108 is very interesting because I feel like in a one quarterback format, we are going to be in the range where we're taking players that, yeah, they probably are going to be difference makers in a lot of leagues, like Zach Charbonnet, like Zay Flowers. But specifically on this roster, in a league where we're only starting 8 players, they're just going to be additional depth we're bringing on. Like, it's just depth on depth on depth on depth in this league, where in my mind, we don't really need depth. We are only starting 8 of these guys. We're already loaded up. Let's try to trade for some studs. So I wouldn't mind at all as if we wanted to go through and say, you know what? Let's approach a team that maybe needs to go a little bit more youth-centric. Let's try to trade them Brandon Ayuk and the 108, and let's go get a wide receiver we're very excited about. Let's go get a wide receiver like Garrett Wilson if we can. And I'd say the same thing with the 106. I mean, obviously, it's going to be hard to get Garrett Wilson. You can go through and trade Ayuk, the 106, see if you can get Wilson that way. I really like that idea specifically in this league format. And Garrett Wilson's just a random name. You're probably not going to be able to get him for that price tag, but just go and look at some other wide receivers we have ranked in that range on flockfantasy.com, and then go send out the offers for those same guys as well. But thank you, my friend, for being a member of the Flock. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I think that's all we got for this team. Like I always say, if you are ever on flockfantasy.com and you go, you know what, Mason? Yeah, I really like the site and everything. It's great, but the X, Y, and Z can be better. You know, I really want to see this implemented on flockfantasy.com. Please do not hesitate. Reach out to me immediately, and I'd be happy to get that going for you. I mean, if you want to see something different incorporated with these rankings, of course, if you don't know how, just go add my rankings here. You can sort it that way. If you want to add, say, Zach from Dynasty Land Football, you can go add him, sort it that way. If you want to go add Corey from Fantasy Stock Exchange, add him. You can sort it that way. You can do so many different things, but if there's anything that you can't right now that you want to, don't hesitate. Reach out to me. I will send it over to the developers and see if we can get that going for you. But let's go ahead and let's pull up our next team here. So, and Fuge says, how can I submit my team? If you don't know, all you have to do is be a mother flocker on flockfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code FLOCK, and then once you join the Discord chat and get permission to this roster submission locked channel, you'll only have access to that whenever you are a mother flocker with promo code FLOCK. Then you go through and just send your roster there, and I'd be happy to look at it. But this will be a team from Puckett. Gonna be excited to look at this, but before we look into really anything else, I kind of want to just cover what we are going to have with the league settings. So it'll be a league, super simple. Don't think we need to even talk about anything here. Really, the only thing that's worth mentioning, it's half PPR, right? I think that's the only adjustment we have to be making on that page. If we're going to be looking at return yards, I'm not going to lie to you. I played in a return yard league, I believe back in like 2015 through 2018. Did not have fun with it at all. I was like, okay, this is a pain in the ass to track. And I have not played in a return yard league since probably like 2018, almost 5 years ago. Actually, 5 years ago at this point. So I'm very sorry. I'm not going to be able to look at a player and go, okay, yeah, he's going to rack up a ton of points in this format. I'm not going to be able to help on that front. I am very, very sorry about that. But yeah, let's go through and let's just dive into this team top to bottom. But let's look at the starting lineup requirements. We're going to be starting 1 quarterback. We're going to have 1 super flex as well. Then we're going to have 2 running back spots, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flexes. So if I'm getting out the napkin math, in my mind, this is the most standard dynasty league at this point. It is going to be super flex, start 10, 12 team league. In my mind, this is the base Dynasty league. If anybody's getting into Dynasty Fantasy Football, this is what I'd recommend. Personally, I'd rather play in a league where you start 11 guys, but anybody getting in now, I think this is where you go. Start 10, super flex, preferably some element of tight end premium. If we're going to go and see how deep the rosters are, relatively deep rosters. I mean, looking at how many bench spots we have, I really like the format of this team. And let's go through and let's look at the team itself. At quarterback, we are going to have Kyler Murray, quarterback 1, Matthew Stafford down there in the super flex. And then as we go to the bench, we'll see we really don't have anybody else at the quarterback position. You'll see with our rookie picks, we are actually able to go through and make some moves for rookie quarterbacks, which will be exciting because right now with this quarterback room, I really like Stafford as a quarterback 3, if I'm going to be honest, in super flex formats. But given the lack of rushing upside that you have, as well as the fact that he's an older option, I mean, I think Stafford is a quarterback with a relatively high floor if he and everybody else on the roster can manage to stay healthy this upcoming season. But the ceiling is really non-existent, so I like him as a quarterback 3, but we definitely want another quarterback here that has a little bit higher of a ceiling. Kyler Murray, in my mind, is a quarterback that hasn't proven much from a real-life NFL standpoint, but what we do have is an insane fantasy football ceiling based off of what we had with Kyler Murray. The rushing touchdowns back in year 2. I mean, the rushing yards per game we've seen so far throughout his entire NFL career. Kyler, in my mind, good fantasy option. Don't know about real life, but it doesn't matter here. I like to have him as our QB1. Now, going over to running back, we're going to be rolling with Breece Hall, David Montgomery, the new Detroit Lion there. And then going down to the bench, we don't really have too many players to be excited about. We have Rachaad White, so we're lacking depth. But we are going to be able to add in Bijan Robinson later on. It's crazy how many people that are subscribed to this channel have Bijan Robinson. But anyway, once we add Bijan here, it's going to be a great team in my mind. Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, my number 1 and number 2 running backs in Dynasty. I think you can make a very strong argument that maybe Kenneth Walker, that maybe Jonathan Taylor should be up there. Yes, you can go ahead and make that argument, and I'm not going to even go back and forth with you because I think it's very valid. But nonetheless, we have 2 of the top 4 running backs in Dynasty at the minimum. And in my mind, David Montgomery, it's hard to just assume he is automatically going to be Jamal Williams. Of course, it's probably not going to be the case. But still, he's a running back that's going to a very good offense behind an elite offensive line. With David Montgomery as well, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's not phenomenal at it, but I think he's a great running back 3 to have in this format. Going over to wide receiver, we have Davante Adams, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, where if you were watching Pat McAfee earlier today, they actually rumored that Jerry Jeudy is possibly going over to the New England Patriots. You have Juju Smith-Schuster, the new New England Patriot here, Courtland Sutton. So I'd say this team actually probably really benefited from NFL free agency with David Montgomery and Juju finding favorable landing spots. Going down to the bench, we have Calvin Ridley as well, which is very, very exciting. I think you are going to end up starting Calvin Ridley easily over Juju Smith-Schuster and Courtland Sutton. Sutton's going to be going down to the bench here, of course. But overall, really like what we're looking at with the wide receiver room. I think T. Higgins gives you the flexibility to either compete now or build long term. That's why I love T. Higgins. I feel like you can go either way with him. And then obviously Davante Adams should project to be a top 5 wide receiver this upcoming season. A lot of people are very excited about Jerry Jeudy. I mean, I understand why. Jerry Jeudy, in my mind, is a pretty talented player. I am a little bit worried about maybe additional depth at the wide receiver position, taking market share away from Jerry Jeudy this upcoming season in Denver. I actually kind of project Jerry Jeudy as a low-end wide receiver 2 rather than someone that's ready to break out, but still, I mean, you're completely fine to have Jerry Jeudy as your wide receiver 3 here. Juju, I mean, wide receiver probably 4 after Calvin Ridley, if I'm going to be honest. So I think you are in a phenomenal situation at wide receiver. Tight end, we have Mark Andrews. Nothing to really talk about. Mark Andrews is either the tight end 2, tight end 3, dependent on how you how you rank TJ Hawkinson. I guess you can maybe even put him over Kyle Pitts if you really wanted to. I still have Kyle Pitts as tight end 1 in Dynasty. Not too much depth. I mean, Gesicki maybe finds himself a landing spot. Foster Moreau is a tight end that I know some people are a little excited about now that you have no Darren Waller. In my mind, he's just someone we shouldn't really pay any attention to. Doesn't matter too much. We have Andrews. We're good to go. But now going over to the rookie picks we're operating with here, it's an interesting spot to be in because I would say this is a team that really only has one hole in my mind. that's probably going to be the quarterback 2 spot. I would definitely want to get that upgrade over Matthew Stafford, slide Matthew Stafford down to QB3. But if we are going to be breaking this down, this rookie draft should be very simple for us. 101, Bijan Robinson. 103, super simple. We want that other quarterback. Now, that other quarterback's going to be either Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. Literally whatever order you want. And let me go ahead and let me pull up the rankings on flogfantasy.com. I just want to see where we have rookie quarterbacks collectively. I'll leave up my rankings and Zach's rankings here to show you as well. Okay, so we're just going to be looking at rookie quarterback rankings. Zach is a madman with how deep he goes with these rookie QBs. He's going down to Jaren Hall. Okay, but anyway. So if you're looking at our rankings here, you will see that Young, Stroud, Richardson, for myself personally, they are all very close. I have Stroud, Young back-to-back 23-24. I have Anthony Richardson down at 28. These are overall startup rankings. Keep in mind, rookie quarterback rankings are going to be down here on the left side. Zach is a little bit higher on Young and Stroud, a lot lower on Anthony Richardson. And then Corey has Bryce Young in his own tier, and then Stroud and Richardson next to each other. In my mind, I think it breaks down where you have all three of these guys in the same tier personally. But if you're looking at the other experts on flogfantasy.com, you'll see that maybe you definitely want Bryce Young, CJ Stroud ahead of Anthony Richardson. But almost regardless, you're going to be looking at one of those quarterbacks at the 103, especially given the context of this roster in particular. But now going over to what we're going to be looking at in the late first, 109 in my mind is a very comfortable spot because at the 109, you're going to be in a position where you can go through and you can decide to take possibly Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston. Maybe you even get Will Levis falling down there. I personally would really like to see Levis fall down there. If he's falling that far, I'm going to take him literally every single draft. Because if we go through and break this down, we have Bijan, the top 3 QBs, JSN, Gibbs, so that's first 5. Will Levis, in my mind, 6. But then 7, 8, 9, you're most likely going to have Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, and then Zach Charbonnet. And actually, if we go through 1, 2, 3, 4. I messed that up. Once we add in Will Levis, we're at 7 there. And then we are going to have Addison 8, Johnston 9, Charbonnet 10. I would rather have Johnston over Addison, but I know a lot of people are going to be taking Addison over him. So we are going to have the ability, if we would like, to take one of Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston at the 109, whoever our league mates leave us. And in my mind, if we're going back to our wide receiver core, I think that could actually be a player that does make a difference. I think that could be a player that does make his way into the starting lineup. Now, keep in mind, this is a league where we're going to be bringing Calvin Ridley to play over Cortland Sutton, but I still think that either Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston could be the both short and long-term answer over Juju Smith-Schuster. So I feel very comfortable with that at the 109. And then if we're going to be going back to the rookie picks here, I think at the 111, right now it looks like it's going to be Zay Flowers, but the further we go down the rookie draft, the harder it is going to be to evaluate exactly where we're going to go. So I would say probably 111. It's Zay Flowers, but when you see maybe one of those other players in the first 10 fall to a bad landing spot, you actually end up getting to take them at 11 instead. Maybe if Roschon Johnson jumps up there with a good landing spot, maybe if Sean Tucker jumps up there with a good landing spot, we actually get some value falling down to us. 201, I'm imagining we're going to be in that Sean Tucker, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs range. 211 through the 407, those are almost useless picks this year in my mind. We're just going to be including those in other deals to try to upgrade elsewhere. And I wouldn't even mind if we could go through and say take the 111, 211, 311, and a 4th round pick and literally move up to pick 10. Just so we can get inside that tier and we could possibly coming away with like Zach Charbonnet at 10 as well. I'd really like that idea. But I think that's all we got for the team. Thank you again, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. Really hope that was able to help you out. It's just crazy. I feel like every team we go through here has Bijan Robinson. But thank you again for everything, my friend. And now let's go down to our next team we're going to be looking at. This will be from Gucci Broomstick. Well, Interesting name. I'll definitely say that. But it's a second year, 12-team normal PPR league, 2 quarterback with all the new Dynasty players. And it's interesting situation where Bijan will be at the 102 because number one dude really wants Bryce because he's a quarterback duo of Baker and Russ. Oh my gosh. Okay. First off, I will say, well, maybe it looks like on the surface that will be the case. It's very difficult for us to make plans saying for sure Bijan Robinson will be available at our 102 pick. If it happens, that's going to be great. But that team that really wants Bryce Young, you don't know. They may trade the 101. They may move back. Maybe a team who really wants Bijan Robinson goes up there, or maybe they're able to go through and solve the quarterback position elsewhere outside the rookie draft where they can afford to go through and take Bijan Robinson at 1. So it's hard to just guarantee that we are going to be in a case where that's the situation, that Bijan's coming to us at 2. Don't rely on it. But real quick, I'm so sorry before we get to this. I didn't realize we had a $20 donation coming out from Vincent. Thank you so much, my friend. Says, what's up, King? So happy you finally made an overall Dynasty rankings on your new site. Been waiting 2 years for this. I sent my roster on the Discord. Would appreciate if you got around to it before you end the stream. Thanks. No, thank you so much, my man, for being a long-time member of the flock. You definitely know I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much for everything. I definitely will go through and I'll get to your team. I promise you. I promise you. Okay, but let's go over and let's look at this team. We have Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson as our top 2 quarterbacks. Very interesting. You labeled Justin Fields as running back 3 here. I would never do such a thing personally, but interesting you decided to do it. We have Jordan Love down there on the bench as well. I know a lot of people are very, very excited about Jordan Love with no Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. In my mind, it's like, oh, are we really sure that Love is going to be who everybody wants him to? I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, if we're going to be looking at Jordan Love, he doesn't really have much rushing upside. He's going to be stepping into a situation where Aaron Rodgers last year wasn't really able to have success. So in my mind, it's difficult to go all in on Jordan Love. I feel like we have Jordan Love in very few teams, if I'm going to be honest. But going back to the very top here, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, in my mind, both these quarterbacks have an extremely high ceiling. Now, personally, I think the job security lies a little bit more with Deshaun Watson based on the guaranteed money that he got in his contract, based on the fact that Cleveland Browns gave up 3 first-round picks and a second-rounder to go get him. But regardless, very good quarterback duo at the very top. Even if I think Justin Fields has a very low floor from a real-life NFL standpoint, it's entirely possible that from a fantasy football standpoint, this next year, he could end up as the quarterback 1 with that rushing upside. Now, going over to RB, we have Javonte Williams, Breece Hall. So Breece Hall, you could make an argument he's the running back 1, running back 2, running back 3 overall in Dynasty, but very excited to see where we stand there. If we're going to go down to what we have on the bench, nobody in particular. Going down to the rookie picks, you'll see we had the 102, which we're being told this is Bijan Robinson. We're being told that 101's going Bryce Young. I'm hesitant to believe that right away. I will say if that were to be the case, this will be the 20th team in a row that we're able to see that has Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall on it. But regardless, it doesn't matter too much. I think that 102 we can play around with and do a lot. Because if we go over to wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase holding down the fort as well. Darnell Mooney, Juju Smith-Schuster now in New England. We have Odell Beckham Jr. down there on the bench. And we have some depth picks we can look at. Tight end, we have absolutely nobody. Rolling with Tyler Conklin in the starting lineup. Down there on the bench, we have nothing. I don't know what we did at tight end this past year. But overall, I'd say it's a very interesting team. It's a team that in my mind lacks a little bit of depth, but we're going to get into why I don't think this is a big deal. And I do want to point out that the top end talent on this team is ridiculous. If we go through and if we look at Dynasty startup drafts right now, Deshaun Watson is a late round 1, early round 2 startup pick. Justin Fields is a late round 1 startup pick. Jamar Chase is a round 1 startup pick. Breece Hall is an early round 2 startup pick. So even assuming we don't get Bijan Robinson, at the minimum, we have 2 first round startup picks and 2 second round startup picks on this roster. This team doesn't have a ton of depth. It's not like it's horrible with the depth that it does have. But the reason I don't think this makes a big deal is because let's count our bench spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is one of the very unique dynasty leagues that will almost play a little bit more like a redraft league during the season, where you'll be able to go to the waiver wire. If there are only 8 bench spots here, you can go to the waiver wire. You can backfill depth that way. Of course, it's not going to be like a super shallow redraft league where you can find anything you want off the waiver wire. But no, there will be viable options there. So in my mind, this is the kind of league we want to be loading up on those top end studs. And we want to focus in on not really building around depth. We just want those Jamar Chase, Breece Hall level players. Now going over to the rookie picks. This is where we're bringing in the depth where really that depth issue does not matter at all. 102, I know you said that we are going to be getting Bijan Robinson here. And if that is the case, then of course we have a super easy decision to make. We're taking Bijan. Now, if the team at 1 decides not to take Bryce Young, even if he's your buddy and even if he's been telling you, yeah, man, we got Russell Wilson, we have Baker Mayfield, I need Bryce Young, I'm taking Bryce Young at 1 no matter what. If he gets some sense into him, if he decides to go Bijan Robinson, I wouldn't be opposed to then immediately taking this 102 pick and offering it to him for Bijan. You reaching out to him, say, hey, man, I mean, I know you said you were going Bryce Young. I guess you ended up not doing it. How about this? How about I give you the 102 and the 202, and I'll even throw in the 302. I'll give you my entire draft class just for you to move back 1 spot, for you to get Bryce Young all along, the guy that you wanted. And at that point, if that guy ever truly wanted Bryce Young, he'll take that deal. He will. He'll be getting the 202, 302 on top of it. You'll be getting a win as well because you will be coming away with Bijan. And in my mind, Bijan makes this team a juggernaut. Now, of course, you don't have to do it. Let's wait until the rookie draft. Let's see if he's not bluffing. Let's see if he actually goes Bryce Young at 1. Because if he goes Bryce Young at 1, we add Bijan Robinson into this team. We are then looking at Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, and Bijan Robinson. That'd be beautiful. That'd be everything we could ever ask for. Now, going over to the 105, 108, we will also be able to add a player that we really like at the 105. Because if we break this down, Bijan at 1, presumably. Then afterwards, we have the 3 quarterbacks, Young, Stroud, Richardson, whatever order you want. If one of those guys were to fall, if you have JSN, if you have Jahmyr Gibbs sneaking into the top 4, and then all of a sudden we get Anthony Richardson, we get CJ Stroud falling to us at 5, it's going to be a no-brainer selection. We take it. We run to the bank. We're in a phenomenal situation at quarterback. We're never having to worry about the position ever again. If it doesn't happen, we are still in a fine spot. We are at that point get to evaluate the landing spots in the draft capital that we see from Will Levis, Jackson Smith and Jigba, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs. So I love pick 5. I understand that it looks like we are sitting outside of a tier, but you never know what happens after the NFL draft. A lot of times people in dynasty leagues go crazy and you get a player falling to you that you never thought you would. Now 108s, we are in a spot where you're probably going to see another teardrop. You're probably going to be looking at a group of 3 players in Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Zach Charbonnet. As of now, I'm looking at Quentin Johnston, and if we play this out, say we're able to go Bijan Robinson 1, we have a quarterback at 5, Richardson, Levis, and then we get Quentin Johnston at 8. We are adding, in my mind, a difference-making player at every position at good value. We're not reaching on any of them. I know some people look at the Will Levis pick and see it as a reach. I'm going to have to make an in-depth video talking about Will Levis and his dynasty value soon, because in my mind, I think he's worth pick 5. If you wanted to go that direction, you don't have to. Now, 202 depth wide receiver / Sean Tucker, Roshan Johnson running back. Of course, so hard to project those running backs out until we see the landing spot draft capital. 302, I'm just trying to say, use it as trade bait. Let's move up. Maybe if you see Darnell Washington that you really like, that'd be phenomenal. Now, what gets to be an interesting scenario is once we add in, just say hypothetically, Bijan Robinson, JSN, and Quentin Johnston, or let's call it Anthony Richardson. Bijan, Anthony Richardson, Quentin Johnston. This draft goes perfect for us. Then at that point, we are looking at a team that is able to move Wan'Dale Robinson down to the bench. We can slide Quentin Johnston into the starting lineup, or honestly, we can slide Javonte Williams down from running back to the flex, put Bijan there, and then slide Wan'Dale down. Wait until Quentin Johnston's actually ready and good to go. We slide down, say, I don't even know after that. This team is just so damn good. Maybe Juju Smith-Schuster's battling with Quentin Johnston, but we have enough running back depth. We have enough wide receiver depth. We have enough quarterback depth. This is what we have to deal with. A little guy named Tyler Conklin here. Now, I usually don't recommend doing this, but I feel like this team is good enough where it makes sense. I would be fine if we wanted to get to this summer and then go, okay, well, let's look at the league landscape. We are one of the strongest teams here. We are just missing a piece. Let's go through and let's trade one of the extra firsts that we have, one of the extra seconds that we have, and let's get a cornerstone tight end to build around that will not only be productive this year, but will also hold his long-term dynasty value. If we can go through and trade this first-round pick from Armin Washed and the second-round pick from the Deej for TJ Hawkinson, you may not even have to include the second-round pick. For this team in particular, because we are so strong, because we would still have our own first-round pick to be able to make plays during the season, I actually like that scenario. But a big thing is you will be able to extract the most value for those future picks this summer once we are already past the 2023 rookie draft. Because the psychology of any dynasty player is if you load up Sleeper here and you're seeing that you have the 2023 picks pushing down these 2024 picks, it makes these 2024 picks look like they are a ways away. But the second that we get rid of these 2023 ones, the second that instead these 2024 picks are at the very top, even though they're not going to be any closer in reality, the psychology of a dynasty owners will make these 2024 picks inherently more valuable. And at that point, I don't mind going through and making the play. But I think that should be about it that we have for that team. Thank you again, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. Really hope that that was able to help you out. Really hope you were able to get something from that. Now, let's go ahead and let's find our next team. Let me just make sure we got permission to show off individual teams here. Okay, so Bingle says he's good to go with this team on YouTube. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pull up the league settings before we look at anything here for Bingle. And this is going to be a 6-point passing touchdown league where, in my mind, we don't have to just solely focus in on rushing upside for these quarterbacks. And instead, we can actually look at the pocket passing options like Burrow, like Mahomes, like Herbert, like Lawrence, and say, okay, well, these guys can maybe make up for the lack of rushing if they're going to be able to just throw the ball with so much more passing volume than everybody else. Going over to receiving, it's going to be a full point PPR. You're getting half a point per reception bonus at tight ends. So really just a regular tight end premium format. Nothing that we have to be making too many adjustments with. But let me go ahead and let me pull this up. And as I pull up the team to a different window, please, if you have not done so already, go sign up for flockfantasy.com. At least check out the 2-day free trial that's over there waiting for you. You can find the link in the live chat, find it in the description. When you sign up to flockfantasy.com with promo code FLOCK and purchase some other Flocker tier, you will have your team focused in. Have your team highlighted on one of these live streams, or I can send your podcast to you directly if you want to keep it private. Completely fine. We have a lot of people that want to do that as well. You'll also get my rankings. You will also get the Dynasty rankings from the guys at Fantasy Stock Exchange, Dynasty Land Football, and so much more. And Fantasy Endgame articles. There's the whole 9 yards. But anyway, I don't need to waste your time. We actually were able to get this pulled up right now. So let's switch this back over. And we are going to be looking at a team where we are lucky enough to have Patrick Mahomes in Superflex. Now, what isn't the best is our quarterback 2 years, Derek Carr. Kind of is what it is. We do have Jordan Love, though. Now, with Jordan Love, I don't necessarily know if we are guaranteed to get anything. Of course, we really never know. But at the same time, we can at least acknowledge the fact that there is some upside there. He's a wild card, but we have the security with Derek Carr. We have the upside with Jordan Love, and we have the combination of security and upside with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback one just gives you so much flexibility with what you are able to do elsewhere throughout the rest of the roster. So love having Mahomes here. But going over to running back, we're going to be rolling with James Conner, Dalvin Cook. And then down there on the bench, we are going to have Samaje Perine, who's now a Denver Bronco. We're going to have Ronald Jones, who will probably be out of the NFL shortly. Nyheim Hines, who will probably be out of the NFL shortly, if not just returning kicks. And Alexander Mattison, where I'm very interested to see where he lands. But long story short, at running back in particular, we have Isaiah Spiller, Kyren Williams as well, but not making a big difference one way or another. We are kind of underweight here. I think that James Conner right now in redraft formats is a fine value. Like right now, if you're looking at where James Conner's going on underdog, you actually have James Conner in the 8th round, and I've drafted the hell out of him because when he's on the field, when he can stay healthy, he is operating as a 3-down running back. To go along with this, he catches the ball. He has the guaranteed contract this next season to be an Arizona Cardinal. I think this team has enough holes where they are probably not incentivized to invest into the running back position this offseason. So I actually like James Conner as a redraft asset. However, I don't know how comfortable we feel about him in Dynasty. I think you have James Conner this year as probably a running back 2, and then we never see anything from him again. Dalvin Cook, very similar. I am fine with his price point on Underdog. On Underdog, he's going as like a low to mid running back 2 for 2023. So the expectations, he's a mid running back 2 this year. But then after that, he's probably fallen off the face of the planet. So at running back, we have 2 running back 2s, really nothing else. And these guys don't give us long-term value. It's 2023 and that's it. Going over to wide receiver, we're rolling with Cooper Kupp, Hollywood Brown, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Treylon Burks. So wide receiver room's definitely a lot better than running back. Down there in the bench, we don't have much to work with either. But, I mean, very similar. Kupp. I would make the argument Kupp definitely is going to have way more longevity than Conner and Cook. Not only is he going to have more longevity, but at the same time, he should be significantly better this upcoming season as well. Like, you should be very, very excited about Cooper Kupp. But still, this is a descending asset. Almost no matter what happens this upcoming season, Cooper Kupp next offseason will have less value than he does today. Hollywood Brown, a little bit of an interesting scenario. I feel like you're fine having Hollywood on a rebuild or a contender. I feel like you're not going to see too much change in terms of his dynasty value a year from now. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Treylon Burks are wild cards. These are 2 players that have a lot to gain with a strong season in terms of their dynasty trade value. But at the same time, these are players that could lose a decent amount of value. Like, you're not going to be that surprised if all of a sudden Treylon Burks doesn't really do anything as a second-year player either. And after a disappointing rookie season, he's treated as if he is a Nikhil. I'm not going to go that extreme, but he's treated as a wide receiver with very little to no dynasty value. Even now, Donovan Peoples-Jones doesn't have much value. I like the value that he does have, but if he doesn't prove himself this upcoming season, I'd say he's almost guaranteed to be washed out as well. Then going over to tight end, we have Gesicki. We don't necessarily know where Gesicki is going to end up. We have Higbee, Foss Monroe, Daniel Bellinger, who just got replaced, obviously, with Darren Waller. But we are weak at tight end as well. So if we go top to bottom and we also look at the rookie draft picks that we have and we see that we don't have any first-round rookie picks in 2023, this is a team that has an elite piece to build around with Patrick Mahomes that will automatically give you a high floor and ceiling at the quarterback position regardless of who your quarterback 2 and 3 is. But then beyond that, we're weak at quarterback. Running back, I'd say we're weak in the short term when both these guys are currently being drafted as running back 2s for this upcoming season. And we're very weak long term where they have no long-term value. Wide receiver, we're respectable. Okay. If Treylon Burks breaks out, then he's a great wide receiver 3 to have. Donovan Peoples-Jones, great wide receiver 4 to have. We are respectable at wide receiver for this year, but as Kupp declines next offseason in dynasty value, we are weak at wide receiver long-term value. And at tight end, we are weak both for now and long-term as well. So if we go position by position like this, in my mind, this is a team that is going to have a very difficult time being productive this season. I think we need to go through, I think we need to almost burn this down. Now, it is March, so there's no rush to do this whatsoever. And of course, if you're trying to sell veteran assets, usually March isn't the best time to do so. Usually you want to wait until about August and then try to squeeze as much value as you can out of those players. But I would say this offseason, this isn't the worst time in the world to go through and start exploring possibilities of playing for 2024. If we're evaluating some long-term pieces for us to keep, I think Patrick Mahomes is a great long-term keep. Treylon Burks is probably someone we want to be keeping as well. And I'd include Jordan Love on that list. But outside of that, I would say almost everybody else is expendable. If you want to go through, if you want to say, hey, Cooper Kupp can be sold for a 2024 first, second, and third. I'll take a draft class of 2024 picks for Cooper Kupp. I don't hate that idea. I would say with Hollywood Brown, if you wanted to approach some owners and go, hey, I will sell Hollywood Brown and the 208 for any 2024 first. I don't hate that idea as well. I'll tell you right now, you're not getting a 2024 first straight up for Hollywood. I'd tell them you're going to throw in the 308. And if you get anybody reaching out, then tell them you're willing to throw in the 208 as well. If we're going through and looking to sell Dalvin Cook, James Conner, I would almost say it's not even worth doing right at this second because you're going to have a very, very difficult time trying to find any suitors for those two players. Like right now, they have no dynasty hype in the slightest. Good freaking luck trying to find someone to buy those running backs. Derek Carr, I would say the compensation we'd be looking at would be very similar to Hollywood Brown. If we could include a second round pick and sell Derek Carr and get a 2024 first, so we sell a second and Carr and get a 2024 first in return, I'm doing that. Trying to sell this veteran production, trying to guarantee that we get the 101 in next year's rookie draft. We bring in Caleb Williams. We pair him up with Patrick Mahomes with an additional few extra first round picks in that 2024 class. I think this is a team, because we have Mahomes in particular, that we could see it turned around as early as next year. I don't think this is a rebuild where we have to blow it up and then we're playing for 2025. No, I think we could play for 2024. But we have to kind of make that decision now. I'm not telling you to go through and just run around like your hair's caught on fire and you're selling these players for absolutely anything. Of course, try to get reasonable prices. It's going to be very difficult to do so in March. So play the long game here. You don't have to sell all these veterans at once. If you can sell like one of them a month until the season starts, I really like that idea. Okay. But I think that should be it for this team. Of course, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I genuinely do appreciate it. And as always, if you are ever on flockfantasy.com and you go, you know what, Mason? I mean, I really like the site, but it could be better in reasons X, Y, and Z. It could look a whole lot better, or I would really like this added on to it. Feel free, reach out to me, let me know ASAP, and I'd be happy to get that done for you. But then, yeah, I mean, I can't guarantee it. I'll send it over to the developers, and if they tell me it's possible, we'll work on it, okay? But let's go ahead and let's try to find our next Dynasty team that we're going to be looking at. And real quick, as we do so, we have a donation coming out from Jay Mills. Thank you, my friend. It says, Mason, 14-team Dynasty League, Superflex with IDPs. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to be able to help with IDPs at all. I'd embarrass myself if I tried. We have Jalen Hurts, Kyle Trask, wide receiver. We have Michael Thomas, Justin Jefferson. I love how we put Michael Thomas ahead of Justin Jefferson. Chris Olave, Nico Collins, David Bell. Running backs, we have Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, and Tyler Algier. Tight end, we have Kyle Pitts. We have the 102, 107, 108, 110, 112. What is the strat in this rebuild? Offered the 112 2024 first for the 104. No, you would get the 104 if you were to do that. No, do not do that. Do not trade away the 112 and 2024 first for the 104 on a rebuilding team. Last thing I want to be doing on a rebuilding roster, starting to sell our future picks. We don't necessarily know how this team's going to go. I think we wait. I think we get some clarity. But as of now, I think you have a ton of fun things to work with. The number one thing that you have to transition from a 12-team Dynasty Superflex League to a 14-team Dynasty Superflex League is going to be quarterback value. The supply and demand ratio, of that quarterback position in that 14-team Superflex League is so out of whack that, any chance that you get to grab a quarterback, we do. So 102, you're taking a QB. Whether that's Stroud, Young, Richardson, that's up to you, my friend. You go in whatever direction that you would like. 107, I know a lot of people would usually say, okay, 107, please, please, please have Jackson Smith and Jigba or Jahmyr Gibbs fall to us. I really want Will Levis there. In a 14-team Superflex League where quarterback's going to be that much harder to come by, I'm really hoping that we're able to grab Will Levis 107, Quentin Johnston 108, either Jordan Addison or Zach Charbonnet 110. 112, you're kind of stuck in no man's land. I don't exactly know what you're going to do. I understand the thought process wanting to trade the 112 and 2024 first to get to the 104. If instead you could replace that 2024 first with, say, a second round pick this year and then also throw in Michael Thomas, I'd really like that. I'd much prefer that rather than going through and selling that 2024 first. But overall, I think it's a team that has a very high ceiling. I think it's a team that is very interesting, especially if we're able to go through and bring in CJ Stroud to pair up with Jalen Hurts in that 14-team league. Keep in mind, 14-team league, it's going to be more difficult to just bring on those top-end assets. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's dive into our next team here. I think this one's going to be coming out from, let's go ahead, Alf, right? Or have we done Bengals team? Yes, we just did Bengals. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at Alf's team here. It's going to be an interesting roster where we first want to look at the league settings. We're getting negative -0.5 point per QB sack, negative -2 points per interception. But what's really nice to see is we're getting 0.2 points per pass completion. If you're getting 0.2 points per completed pass, you're in a situation where you want to be racking up on quarterbacks that throw the ball with volume, especially if you're getting 6 points per passing touchdown. Like if we can go through, if we can add in Joe Burrow, add in Trevor Lawrence, add pretty much anybody that you believe can lead the NFL in passing yards. I honestly don't even really want to go through and target quarterbacks that run the ball in this format in particular. If we're getting the 0.2 point per pass completion and 6 point per passing touchdown, give me the quarterbacks instead that are going to have a crazy amount of passing volume. Now, going over to this team, I'm actually going to have to open this up in a browser. So as I do that, of course, if you have not done so already, go sign up for flockfantasy.com. Promo code FLOCK, 30% off any subscription. All these perks on the screen, and your Dynasty team will be featured in this live stream or tomorrow night's live stream or the night after that. It will be featured in a live stream sometime soon. Just make sure you use promo code FLOCK when you sign up if you want to get that done. But going over to this, we have some quarterbacks that could just break fantasy football and scoring. We have Josh Allen. We have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. We also have Deshaun Watson. So I love to see with this quarterback scoring, us having those elite level QBs that can give us just a ridiculous amount of production. I will say, as a quick side note, I am completely fine in an average league if someone wants to have Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. But if we are getting 6 points per passing touchdown, not only we are getting 6 points per passing touchdown, but at the same time, we are going to be coming away with 0.2 points per pass completion. I'm going to devalue the rushing just a bit. And instead, I would probably rather have Burrow over Jalen Hurts. So quick side note, in this format, if we could trade Jalen Hurts for Joe Burrow, which I think is honestly a reasonable expectation, I would really like that, my friend. Now, going over to running back, we're going to be looking at Breece Hall, Aaron Jones in the starting lineup. And then down there on the bench, we have A.J. Dillon, Leonard Fournette. Really, Nobody noteworthy to talk about. We will have the 106. If we really want a running back, we could look to possibly bring in Jahmyr Gibbs there. But, I mean, you do have Breece Hall holding down the position. It's not too big of a deal, especially with the wide receiver depth that we have. We're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore. And then going down to the bench, we have Mike Evans, Christian Watson as well. So we have so much wide receiver depth that honestly, I'm kind of fine with where we find ourselves at running back, where running back depth non-existent, but we have so many wide receivers that we are forever going to be able to just go through and throw wide receivers in our flex spots. Like, we're not having to worry about that at all. Now, if we were looking to sell any of these wide receivers, based on the move to the Chicago Bears, I am actually possibly going to be looking to go through and move off of DJ Moore. Now, I was expecting that people thought it was going to be a bad trade for DJ Moore to go to the offense that just had the fewest amount of passing yards of any NFL team since 2009. And while, yes, they will be significantly better than they were this past year, significantly better still does not mean good. I thought people would be pessimistic about that landing spot, but people are very excited about it. So I personally wouldn't hate the idea of just going through and looking to sell DJ Moore. I mean, if we were looking at returns, I think we could possibly be going through and looking at Jahan Dotson as an example. I think Dotson would be an easy pivot off of DJ Moore. I think if you could go through and get like the 108, 109, and there you could come away with a Quentin Johnston or Jordan Addison, I would really like that for DJ Moore as well, even though I do think DJ Moore is a great player. Going over to tight end, rolling with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, in my mind, tight end 1 in Dynasty. I think you can make an argument for Hockenson. You make an argument for Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry, for Mark Andrews, but I'm just going to prefer Kyle Pitts. Overall, good team, ton of wide receiver depth. Going back to what we had at quarterback, it's a league where we have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson. So we have 3 elite level quarterbacks in a quarterback premium format with this kind of scoring. So I love where we're standing on that front. And we even have Kadarius Toney as depth as well. Going down to the rookie draft this upcoming season, 106 is interesting because in my mind, it's going to be that tier of 3 players: Will Levis, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Based on the fact that this is a league where you are getting 6 points per passing touchdown as well as 0.2 points per pass completion, I would actually say in a vacuum, I kind of think Will Levis is the best out of the 3 players there. Now, at the same time, I mean, we don't need a quarterback. We have Jalen Hurts. We have Josh Allen. We have Deshaun Watson. And we do need a running back. So you get in the classic dilemma of, okay, well, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs would help this team the most, but maybe Will Levis in this kind of format has the most value. Are we going to go best player available? Or are we going to go through and take whoever helps this team the most? I always lean on the side of going best player available. Now, at the same time, I will acknowledge the fact that it's not possible to do in every single league because there are leagues where people don't really make trades. If you know this is that league, if you know, hell man, if I draft Will Levis, I'm telling you right now, my league mates aren't going to trade for him. I'm just going to be stuck with Will Levis, have no other option. If that's the situation you find yourself in, then sure. Don't do it. Take Jahmyr Gibbs. Take the running back that it will actually benefit your team. But in my mind, I'm kind of going Levis. Now, going down to what we are looking at with the 2024-2025 picks. Usually I don't point this out, but it's a very interesting situation to be in where we don't have our own 2024 first. We don't have our 2025 first either. So this is a team where if things were to go wrong, if this were to crash and burn, we are not going to have the security of being able to just then pick at the very top of rookie drafts and be able to add in solid players. I mean, it will lower your floor definitely, but at the same time, it's going to raise the ceiling of this Dynasty team where if we were to go ahead and say win this upcoming season, we don't get locked into the 112. At that point, we could possibly be anywhere 1 through 11 in the rookie draft. So it's interesting. It makes me really want to pray for you, my friend. It makes me really, really want to make sure that you have the best season possible, because if it does collapse, it's going to crash and burn to an extreme measure. But I think that's about it on everything that we have for this team, my friend. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. And I will say, as a quick side note, do not cut Tom Brady. The presence in the locker room is enough for him to be worth the roster spot. So I'd be holding on to him as long as Sleeper has him in the database. That way you can just make sure that the locker room situation is completely handled. You know, Brady's going to be on it. But thank you again. As always, if there's anything I can do to improve the site for you, let me know ASAP and I'll send it over to the developers right away. But thank you for everything, my friend. I really hope that was able to help you out. And let's go ahead, pull up our next team. As we do this, I see that we have Miles Sanders to the Carolina Panthers. Ooh. Let me pull up this Miles Sanders situation. Okay. So obviously this is a team that does not have much on the depth chart at all. What I am very interested to see, what is the contract here? Looks like contract's not out yet. I want to see the guaranteed money before I really react on that, because there is always the chance that the guaranteed money isn't anything, and it's the NFL telling us that, you know what, this player's not worth what the fantasy football community thinks he is. So I'm going to be interested to see what the guaranteed money is. Before we go over to our next team, let me answer this question coming out from After CR. Thank you, my friend, for the donation. It says, one quarterback league, should I trade the 104, 105, and 110 for the 101 if I'm a running back away? We have Debo, Devonta Smith, Drake London, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney. I'd say Claypool, Mooney, Odell, they're nothing. So we're looking at with Debo, Devonta Smith, London, Pickens, Jameson Williams. So we're kind of average at wide receivers. So 104, Quentin Johnston, 105, Jordan Addison, 110 in a one quarterback format will actually probably be a QB. He'll probably be like Anthony Richardson. If this is a one quarterback format, like we covered earlier on in this live stream, where you're only starting 8 players total, if you're only starting 8 players total, then at that point, I probably would rather go ahead and just take Bijan Robinson, just take the best player in the deal. Whereas if you are playing in a deeper dynasty league, if you have to start 11 guys, then at that point, I would probably prefer if you just wanted to go through and keep the 3. So it will depend on the depth of the league. I probably lean Bijan Robinson if I'm going to be honest with you, though. Okay, so let's go ahead and if it was super flex, no, I definitely not, but specifically because it's one quarterback. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's find our next team that we're going to be looking at. I think our next one, we've already done Alf's. I think we're going to go ahead and look at Ethan's here. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's look at Ethan, not Ethan. Ooh, let's hide that real quick. Says, hey, Mason, started watching you last offseason when I got serious with fantasy. Really love the new website. Attached is my team from a 10-team app PPR 0.75 tight end premium startup draft from 2 weeks ago. Really curious on what you think. Traded back from the 105 to the 109 and a late 5th. Traded my future 6th for a future first. I'm sorry, traded my 6th-round starter pick for a future 2024 first. We also have the 103 for the 2023 rookie draft, which we plan on using for a quarterback 2 instead of Love. Be cool to see this on YouTube, but whatever is easiest for you. No, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. Let's go ahead and let's just dive into these settings real quick. So it looks like we are just getting the, and I'll say, just so you know, have some clarity. I see you're saying that it is a 0.75 tight end premium format. It's half PPR, and tight ends are just getting an extra quarter point per reception. So the tight end premium here is not much at all. Like, let me go ahead and let me show you the difference between Travis Kelce's scoring in a regular, in this regular half PPR format versus what it would have been with the tight end premium. And of course, I'm using Travis Kelce as the most extreme example, right? It's going to be the most drastic with Travis Kelce because he has the most receptions. So Travis Kelce had his career high this past year of 110 receptions. With this tight end premium format, that is going to be an extra 1.6 points per game. 1.6 points per game. And that is the most drastic. Most tight ends won't even average an extra point per game. So it is tight end premium, but we don't need to be making dramatic changes. Okay, so it's going to be a team that we need to load up on a different window. So as I do this, please, if you have not done so already, go check out flockfantasy.com. You can get a 2-day free trial with the link in the live chat, link in the comment section, link in the description. You can literally find it everywhere. And when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, you will get 30% off any subscription. You'll get everything on the screen. And with the Mother Flocker tier and only promo code FLOCK, you will get your team broken down on a podcast by yours truly. But let's swing this back around, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we have the team pulled up, keep in mind, 10-team Superflex league here. This is going to be a 10-team league we're looking at. So we have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Down there, QB2, we have Jordan Love. I mean, I also see Brock Purdy on this team. Brock Purdy is so interesting in that if Brock Purdy were to have stayed healthy, you kind of assume that Brock Purdy is what? I mean, the guaranteed starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. If Brock Purdy, say, stayed healthy and won that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, which we don't know if he would have won, but we're playing the what-if scenario, it would look like Brock Purdy was guaranteed to be the starting quarterback there this next season. But now he gets injured, and in my mind, we are living in a completely different world where Trey Lance is probably going to be the guy that you're looking at. And so Brock Purdy's not much as is, but going down to the rookie picks, like you're saying, we have the 103, so we're going to be at a spot where we can go through and we can add another quarterback to this room. Lawrence, someone you're very excited about having, especially when we have him stacked with one of these running backs in Travis Etienne. We also have Breece Hall with this team, and then going down there to the flex spot, we have James Conner. Now, this is a team that I like seeing James Conner on. I mean, going back to where we were previously discussing, James Conner is not someone you want as your running back 1, running back 2 in Dynasty. James Conner, in my mind, can be a very solid option for 2023. I think he can be a top 20 running back. But beyond that, if we're relying on him for anything, then we are not in a good position, but we don't really have to rely on him for anything. I mean, we have Etienne, we have Breece Hall, so we're good. Going down to the bench, we also have Tyler Algier. Don't really know the situation Algier will find himself in this next year. Of course, there's an outside chance that Tyler Algier does end up as the starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons. But there's also an outside chance that, you know what, this is a running back that was drafted on day 3, doesn't really have any guaranteed job security. So maybe, just maybe, they decide to go ahead and move on from him. It's both possible for Tyler Algier, but he was like a low-end RB1 at the end of last season. I mean, Algier came on very strong for people in the playoffs. Now, going over to wide receiver, rolling with a lot of rookies from last year's class. Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, Christian Watson. We have Calvin Ridley coming back to football, which is obviously very exciting. And then down there on the bench, we have every Chicago Bears wide receiver. We have DJ Moore. We have Chase Claypool. We have Darnell Mooney. Now, I don't know if you did this by accident. I don't know if you did this on purpose. I don't know if you are a massive Chicago Bears fan. And if you are, I should probably be hesitant with what I'm about to say. But in my mind, I really like the idea of going through and selling DJ Moore for the reasons that we previously mentioned. And if we're going to be looking at DJ Moore, so a wide receiver that is going to the offense that had the fewest amount of passing yards per game since 2009, essentially the worst passing offense in NFL modern history. Now, I completely understand they are going to be significantly better. They will not be the worst passing offense in modern history again. That's not going to happen. They'll be much, much, much better. But if you go to the article that we had on flockfantasy.com, I'll actually just give you all a little sneak peek of this. We go through and we lay out exactly how damn good DJ Moore is and how much better Justin Fields can be. If this offense improves by 30% more passing yards per game this next year, and DJ Moore captures 30% of the market share there, which if the Chicago Bears average 30% more passing yards per game, they're going to be the most improved offense in the NFL, which they probably will be. Chicago's going to be the most improved offense in the NFL. 30% is massive. So if the Chicago Bears are the most improved offense in the NFL, and DJ Moore takes the highest target share of any wide receiver you're going to find in the NFL at 30%, then he's going to be a low-end wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Seeing how excited the Dynasty community has gotten with him, I think it is an interesting spot to see what the price point would be to go through and potentially sell. And especially if we're going to be looking at the rest of this team where we just have so much depth. And going back to this starting lineup, I mean, it's not like we're having to start 11, 12 guys where we just need as many wide receivers as we can possibly get our hands on. We have the 203 as well, which can end up being Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt. I mean, Albert O at tight end here. Obviously, you're not going to be relying on Albert O. I'd say you're probably going to be relying on the second-year tight end in Tennessee before you would be with Albert O. or Jelani Woods, maybe one or the other. Daniel Bellinger, obviously, going to be nothing now that you have Darren Waller going over there. But going down to the rookie picks, we're in a spot where I think we add in my mind, whatever rookie quarterback you want at the 103. 203 is going to actually be like the 201 if this was a 12-team league. So like I said, I think if you wanted, you could go through and you could get Josh Downs. You can get Jalen Hyatt. Or maybe, no, I wouldn't include that team. I don't want to include that deal with the trade. Just because the psychology of a dynasty owner is going to make it, it's going to make them feel like that's more of a mid-second round pick rather than just doing the math and realizing it's the 13th pick overall. I was going to say maybe we include it with the DJ Moore deal to see if we can just get up to an even a higher tier. If we're looking at the future first that we have, I think this does put us in a very good position with the flexibility that we'll have later on. And that if we wanted to, if you felt at the beginning of this next season that this team is ready to contend and we are just a tight end away, then at that point, you could always feel free to go and take one of those year 2 tight ends that you have, package it with a future first, and go approach maybe the Mark Andrews owner, go approach the TJ Hawkinson owner, go approach one of those owners of a tight end that is struggling at the beginning of the year, that's looking for long-term value, and tell them, hey, I'll give you this extra first. Just make sure that my tight end position's covered this upcoming season. This team's young enough, though, where I don't feel like we are forced to go all in right now. This team's young enough where I feel like we can wait and actually make that decision at the beginning of the season. So in my mind, I don't really see any reason to be selling first-round picks right this second. Let's definitely wait until we're like week 3, week 4 before we make that decision. But I think that's about it. There's not too much to discuss in terms of what we're going to be doing in the rookie draft here. Really like the team overall. I would say let's wait until the beginning of the year, see if at that point we should trade our extra 2024 first for a tight end, see if we're going to be competitive, take a rookie quarterback at the 103, and then at the same time potentially look to sell DJ Moore. But I think that's all we got for that one. Thank you again, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I genuinely do appreciate it. And as always, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. If you're ever on flockfantasy.com, reach out to me and say, hey, Mason, you know what? Man, you got to improve the site. It has to be better this way. There's going to be a site that is continuously improved. I can't even wait to see where it is a month from now. But just let me know what you want. Now, going over to our next team, gonna look at Vince here. He's been waiting around for this for quite some time, so I want to get to his team right now. Thank you so much, my friend, for being a longtime member of the flock, as always. It's going to be and he's been a member of the flock for years now, if y'all don't know Vin. This is a 12-team Superflex tight end premium. Bottom line, so many teams I see have the 101, yet are nowhere near ready to compete, even with Bijan Robinson. I feel like Bijan kind of completes his team. Am I wrong? Do I look for the haul? Thanks, King. No, thank you so much for being a member of the vlog. And I'll say, it is so weird. I don't know if this is specifically because I'm a Texas Longhorn or something, but it feels like every single team we are sent has Bijan Robinson on it. Am I wrong? It seems like almost every single one does. But before we get into this one in particular, my friend, let's go ahead and let's look at the league settings here. 6-point passing touchdown league, half point per passing first down, -6 per interception. I will say I played in a super flex league back in, I want to say 2017, 2018, whatever the year you had the 30 interceptions from Jameis Winston. And I had Jameis Winston on my team then. And we had -6 points per interception. And it was just the most brutal thing you could ever imagine. I don't think we ever have to worry about another quarterback getting to the -30 interceptions. I don't think we ever have to worry about another quarterback being Jameis, but still, just wanted to point it out. Now, going over to rushing, we have half a point per rushing first down, half a point per receiving first down. We have some big play bonuses as well. And not too much is going to change here. Yeah, I'd say very standard league with a half point per passing first down. I'd really like to build around some elite level quarterbacks if we could, and especially actually, if we're actually getting 1 point per 20 passing yards, I'd really like to have some elite level QBs on this team. Team defense, not going to lie, my friend, don't really care. Special teams defense, not going to lie, my friend, don't really care. So we have some big play bonuses down here as well. So, I'm sorry, some big game bonuses where maybe this incentivizes us a little bit more to just approach this with a studs and duds approach. Because if you have one of those games from, say, like a George Kittle vintage game, where he explodes and drops 45 points in your fantasy football league, maybe he's dropping like 60 here with these big play bonuses. But anyway, going into this, at quarterback, we have Dak Prescott, Trey Lance. So would have been a quarterback pairing that a year ago, I would have been so excited. So excited. If you would have told me, hey man, I have Dak Prescott, Trey Lance, if you would have sent that a year ago, I would have been losing my mind. Now, of course, I'm not the biggest Dak Prescott guy in the world, but specifically Trey Lance, I am. And Dak looked better a year ago than he does now. Going down to the bench, actually, we have Kyler Murray, so we're in a very good spot. Even if Baker Mayfield isn't someone we really ever want to start, it's actually kind of nice having him here as well if he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we are able to go through and play him as our quarterback 3 at the beginning portion of the season if Kyler Murray does miss with him tearing his knee up. So I actually really like the quarterback room now that I see that we have Kyler Murray in it as well. Now, going over to running back, we have Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, and then down there on the bench, we are going to be looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenneth Gainwell. That's about it. Let's say the team's not great at running back. You have question marks surrounding who exactly J.K. Dobbins will be this upcoming season. But because we are getting Bijan Robinson onto this team, we have no concerns. This is a team, just like you were saying, you add Bijan Robinson, you are going to be in such a good spot where Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, I think we can all agree, running backs that have high ceilings, but at the same time, they have low floors. We don't really know what to expect from these guys. We don't really know what we are going to be getting. So adding in Bijan Robinson, I do agree. I think this fundamentally changes this running back room and makes it great. Now, wide receiver is the strength of this team. There's no getting around it. I mean, we have good quarterbacks, good running backs with Bijan, but these wide receivers are obnoxious. CeeDee Lamb, top 5 wide receiver in Dynasty. Amon-Ra St. Brown, mid wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Garrett Wilson, mid wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, both top 24 wide receivers. We have 3 wide receiver 1s, 2 wide receiver 2s, in a format where I think we kind of want to be building around wide receiver with the big play bonuses, as well as the fact that we can start 5 of these guys each and every week. You are in a phenomenal spot. We even have Treylon Burks as an upside shot later on. And of course, some small depth like Wan'Dale Robinson and Elijah Moore and Terrace Marshall, if you want to throw them in there. But phenomenal team at wide receiver. All of these guys give you both long-term value as well as short-term production. They give you the flexibility where if you wanted to go through and build to win now, you can. If you wanted to build for long-term strategy, you can do that as well. You can do whatever you want. Now, going over to tight end, we have Kyle Pitts, my tight end 1 in Dynasty. Don't think there's too much to discuss. We don't really have any depth behind them, but who the hell cares? It's tight in depth. Now, going over to our rookies, we're in an interesting spot because going back to what we had at quarterback, we are sitting with Dak, Lance, Kyler. So we don't need another quarterback. In my mind, we're good. But specifically, after we add in Bijan Robinson with the 101, we don't need another running back. We don't need another wide receiver. We have a loaded wide receiver room. At the same time, we don't need another tight end. We have Kyle Pitts. So 104, even though we don't need him, we're still going best player available. We're still going to go ahead. You're going to get whatever quarterback you want out of the trio of Young, Stroud, and Richardson. I think it's a super easy decision to make as well. Now, going down to 112, 203, I mean, we've given this advice a couple times, but I think it really actually makes a lot of sense here, specifically because this is a team that is so damn good already, and we already have no holes, that I would love to go through and try to get inside like the top 9 picks. If we can get to pick 8, pick 9, and be in the Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison range, I would really like that. Because right now, if we're sitting at pick 12, we're going to be looking at like Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, in my mind, just wide receiver prospects that we can't be too excited about. And we don't need depth elsewhere. So I actually really like the idea of going through and trying to trade the 112, 203. And it maybe seems like an overpay. Throw in a 3rd round pick as well. Who the hell cares? Go 112, 203, 310. Move it. Get a pick inside the top 9. Lock up one of those players at the rookie. I mean, in your rookie draft that is a tier above these other options. I would really like that, my friend. We don't have our own 2024 first, which usually I get a little nervous about. But this team is good enough where I think we're fine without it. I will say, okay, we don't have our own 2025 first, okay? I never like trading away our 2024 and 2025 first because then it puts us up against the wall, making sure that we have to win both these next seasons. But in reality, if any team was going to do it, I think that this would probably be the team. So yeah, I mean, I really like it, my friend. I would just say, let's try to move up inside the top 9 picks. And I think we have enough depth where we're able to make that move, especially with how young everybody across this roster is. Like, let's just go ahead and let's look at this real quick. But I don't think we need to look at quarterback's age. Obviously, QB age doesn't matter at all. These guys can play till they're 40. But running back age definitely matters. We're going to be looking at how old J.K. Dobbins is. The man just turned 24. We're going to be looking at Javonte Williams. The man is 22. CeeDee Lamb is younger than Kenny Pickett. CeeDee Lamb is 23. Amon-Ra St. Brown is 23. Garrett Wilson is 22. Kyle Pitts is 22. Obnoxious. Phenomenal team. Love it, my friend. Thank you so much for being a long-time member of the flock. And of course, if there is anything I can ever do for you, do not hesitate. Feel free to reach out right away. But we've been live here for about an hour and a half. Voice is starting to hurt a bit. We're running low on water, so probably going to cut it here. Of course, I'll be live again tomorrow doing these team breakdowns. If you want your team broken down, make sure you go sign up for flockfantasy.com. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. 30% off any subscription as well. Get every little perk here. I don't need to read it out a million times. You've already heard it. Also, when you sign up, 2-day free trial. So, I mean, no risk whatsoever if you don't like the site. But I think that should be about it. Thank you again, everybody, for being a member of the flock. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really do hope you have a great night. And I really hope we get to see you with the live stream tomorrow.